I am a neurologist who has worked for more than 20 years in a major hospital in the US. I have seen thousands of patients come into my clinic with the same concern: memory loss. They forget the simplest things: their child's name, the keys they left on the table, or even whether they have eaten breakfast. When you are young, you may think that memory loss is a distant thing, something that only happens to the elderly. But the cruel truth is, our brains can be damaged much sooner, just because of what we eat every day. I remember one winter afternoon in Boston, a female patient about 48 years old came to me. She sobbed as she told me that, in just 1 year, she had forgotten to pick up her son from school 3 times. Her son was only 10 years old, and he had been waiting for hours outside in the cold. She said, "Doctor, I'm turning into a different person. I'm afraid I won't be a normal mother anymore." When she was examined, her brain showed signs of mild atrophy, an early warning sign of Alzheimer's. But what shocked me was her daily diet. She believed she was eating healthy with lots of fruit. But ironically, some of the fruits she ate a lot of were destroying her brain every day. That day, I realized there are 5 types of fruit that, if eaten incorrectly or too much, can kill your memory. And today, I want to tell you the truth, so you can protect yourself and your loved ones. Fruit No. 1. Raisins, the two-faced sweetie. Raisins often appear in breakfast cereals, in cakes, or simply as a healthy snack. On the packaging, people always emphasize that raisins are rich in fiber and contain many antioxidants. But few people know that a small handful of raisins the size of a hand can contain more than 20 grams of sugar, equivalent to nearly a small can of soft drink. When sugar rushes into the blood, your brain will have to face sugar storms. The small blood vessels that feed the brain become inflamed. The layer of nerve cells is attacked by a process called glycation. Sugar attaches to proteins and destroys their structure. In many studies, people who eat a lot of dried fruits, such as raisins, have a higher risk of dementia and type 2 diabetes, which is also one of the main causes of brain degeneration. I have a 55-year-old male patient, an accountant. He believes that quitting smoking and replacing it with raisins as a snack is a healthy decision. But in just 5 years, he gained more than 25 pounds, developed diabetes, and started forgetting numbers at work. One time, he made a mistake of tens of thousands of dollars in his financial statements. It was a mistake that almost bankrupted the company. When I asked him, "Do you think it's because of what you eat every day?" he was silent. Because every morning, he still reached into his pocket, took out a handful of raisins, and thought he was doing something good. Fruit No. 2. Black bananas, potassium and sugar shock. Most Americans love bananas. Bananas are convenient, cheap, easy to eat, and are advertised as good for the heart because they contain a lot of potassium. But not all bananas are the same. The blacker the banana, the more sugar it contains. When the starch in the banana is converted to sugar, the blood sugar level skyrockets. This causes the pancreas to work continuously, releasing insulin to lower blood sugar. The problem is, the brain is extremely sensitive to blood sugar fluctuations. When blood sugar fluctuates, nerve cells are shocked by energy. People who eat a lot of black ripe bananas often feel tired, have difficulty concentrating, and in the long run, it will damage their memory. I once had a 62-year-old female patient who was an elementary school teacher. She had a habit of eating 2 to 3 black ripe bananas every day because she thought they were good for digestion. But just a few years after retiring, she began to forget the names of her former students, and then forgot the lessons she had taught for decades. When I did an MRI of her brain, I discovered that her brain had signs of atrophy in the hippocampus, the most important area for storing memories. And the most heartbreaking thing was that she still smiled sadly and said, "Doctor, I always thought that eating a lot of fruit was good. I never expected that bananas, my favorite fruit, would contribute to killing my memory." Fruit number 3. Bottled orange juice, artificial sweetener trap. Oranges are a symbol of health, rich in vitamin C, which helps boost immunity. But the bottled orange juice you see in supermarkets is completely different. Many industrial orange juices no longer retain natural vitamin C. Instead, they contain added sugar, artificial flavors, and preservatives. A 350 milliliters glass of bottled orange juice can contain up to 30 grams of sugar, more than a can of soda. I remember a patient who was a 50-year-old taxi driver who always carried a bottle of orange juice in his car. He believed it kept him awake and was healthier than soda. But after 10 years, he developed cerebrovascular disease and a small stroke that left him unable to drive. When we talked, he burst into tears and said, "I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. The only thing I drink is orange juice, doctor." The truth is, it is that healthy orange juice was silently destroying the blood vessels in his brain day by day. Fruit number 4. Bottled fruit juice and sweet dried fruit. I want to tell you something that may surprise you. Not everything that says fruit on the label is good for the brain. In my many years as a doctor, I have met too many patients with diabetes, high cholesterol, and even early dementia, just because they thought that bottled fruit juice or dried fruit was healthy food. What is the reality? A glass of bottled orange juice in the supermarket contains up to 30 to 40 grams of sugar, the equivalent of nearly 10 teaspoons. But what is more dangerous is that they have almost no fiber. When you drink it, the sugar goes straight into the bloodstream, causing blood sugar to spike. To the brain, this rapid fluctuation is like an electric shock. Science has proven, when blood sugar rises rapidly, the body has to release a lot of insulin to lower it. This fluctuation causes oxidative stress in brain cells. Harvard research shows that people who regularly drink bottled fruit juice have a 21% higher risk of memory loss than those who only eat fresh fruit. I remember a female patient, Mrs. Linda, 62 years old, living in Texas. She came to the clinic with a complaint. "Doctor, I'm so forgetful these days. Sometimes, when I'm cooking, I forget whether I've added salt or not." When I looked at her diet, I saw that she drank 2 bottles of 100% natural orange juice every day. She believed that it was a way to supplement vitamin C for old age. But in fact, the amount of sugar from the juice had put her in a pre-diabetic state and her brain was seriously affected. After changing to eating fresh oranges with whole segments instead of juice, her memory improved significantly after only 6 months. What about dried fruit? Raisins, dried mangoes, dried bananas. Look natural, but most are coated with sugar or sweet syrup. A small handful of raisins has the same amount of sugar as 3 small cans of soft drinks. When I examined the brains of patients who regularly ate dried fruit, I found that they were prone to low-grade chronic encephalitis, which leads to faster memory loss. Many Americans have been fooled by the advertising of healthy snacks from dried fruit, but in fact, it is candy in disguise. Fruit No. 5. Overripe bananas. Sounds strange, right? Bananas are considered a superfood, but not always. Especially overripe bananas. When the skin is dotted with black spots, the flesh is soft and mushy, and the taste is too sweet. Why do I put overripe bananas on the black list for the brain? The science behind it. When bananas are overripe, the resistant starch is almost gone, replaced by simple sugars like glucose and fructose. This causes the glycemic index G of ripe bananas to skyrocket. Eating them causes the brain to face sharp fluctuations in blood sugar, similar to when drinking soft drinks. In addition, overripe bananas also contain many compounds called biogenic amines such as tyramine, which can cause headaches, abnormal dilation of blood vessels in the brain, increasing the risk of migraines and impaired concentration. I clearly remember a male patient named Robert, 58 years old, living in Florida. He used to think he was very healthy because he ate 2 ripe bananas every morning. But then he started having persistent migraines and was irritable and had trouble sleeping. When I asked him to try reducing the ripe bananas, replacing them with medium ripe bananas or adding a few berries, the headaches were completely gone after a few weeks. In the US, I have seen dozens of similar cases. Overripe bananas are like a double-edged sword. They are still bananas, but they are harmful to the brain if eaten in large quantities. A deeper scientific analysis: why are these fruits harmful to the brain? When studying my patients, I found 3 main mechanisms. Strong fluctuations in blood sugar, causing inflammation and damage to blood vessels in the brain. Oxidative stress: nerve cells are attacked by free radicals, causing memory loss and impaired concentration. Abnormal metabolism: when eating too much sweet fruit, the body gradually becomes resistant to insulin. The brain needs insulin to open the door for glucose to enter the cells, So when insulin resistance occurs, the brain will be starved for energy even though the blood is full of sugar. This is the mechanism that leads to Alzheimer's, also known as type 3 diabetes of the brain. A study at the Mayo Clinic on 2,000 older adults showed that those who consumed a lot of sweet fruits and fruit juices had a 38% higher risk of dementia than those who ate a lot of vegetables and less sweet fruits. American patient story. Let me tell you another memorable case. Patient James, 65 years old, lives in California. He is a former engineer, very intelligent, but recently his memory has declined rapidly, even forgetting the way home. When analyzing his diet, I discovered that he eats a lot of ripe mangoes, raisins, and purple grape juice every day. He believes that fruit is good for the heart and brain, but in fact, the huge amount of sugar has pushed him into a state of prediabetes of the brain. After making changes, cutting down on sweet fruits, eating only fresh whole fruits, rich in fiber and low in sugar, combined with exercise, his brain improved significantly. His family said he was more alert, less forgetful, and could read technical books again. So, we have gone through 5 types of fruit that are harmful to the brain: sweet grapes, mangoes, durians, melons, sweet and spicy, canned fruit in syrup, bottled juice and dried fruit, overripe bananas. They all have one thing in common: too much sugar, not enough fiber, disrupting metabolism and silently damaging the brain. 1. Blueberries, little blue pill of memory. Blueberries have long been known as brain berry in the neuroscience community. Scientific analysis. Blueberries contain very high levels of anthocyanins, a group of antioxidants that can cross the blood-brain barrier, reducing oxidative stress, which is the culprit in nerve cell damage. A study by Tufts University showed that older adults who ate 1 cup of blueberries a day for 12 weeks significantly improved their learning and memory abilities compared to the control group. In addition, blueberries also help regulate cerebral blood vessels by increasing nitric oxide production, thereby improving blood and oxygen circulation to important memory areas such as the hippocampus. American patient story. Mrs. Margaret, 72, from Ohio, often complained of small memory gaps, like forgetting her keys or not remembering what she had just said. After I instructed her to add fresh blueberries to her breakfast instead of pastries, after only 4 months, she and her whole family noticed that she was more alert and rarely fell into a dazed state like before. The good news is that she was able to cut down on her sedatives because she slept more deeply too. Pomegranate, the brain's anti-inflammatory shield. Many people think that pomegranates are only good for the cardiovascular system, but in fact, it is one of the fruits with the strongest neuroprotective effects. Scientific analysis. Pomegranates contain special polyphenols, which have strong anti-inflammatory effects in the brain's microcircuits. Chronic inflammation is a fundamental factor in neurodegeneration, especially in Alzheimer's disease. A study by the University of California found that pomegranate extract can reduce the accumulation of amyloid plaques by up to 30%, a key factor in the Alzheimer's process. In addition, pomegranate juice is rich in allantogens, which when metabolized in the intestines will produce urolithins, compounds that can protect mitochondria, the energy factory of nerve cells. American patient story. Mr. Robert, 65, a former Marine living in Florida, was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment (MCI). I advised him to replace soda with a glass of pure pomegranate juice every day. After 8 months, his cognitive test results improved, especially his short-term memory. He said that he can now remember his grandson's phone number without taking notes, something he previously found almost impossible. 3. Red grapes, the secret from resveratrol. Not all grapes are equally good. Red and dark purple grapes are actually rich in resveratrol, a compound that has been extensively studied for its brain protective properties. Scientific analysis. Resveratrol is a polyphenol that activates sirtuins, a group of proteins that play a role in extending the lifespan of nerve cells. Tests at Georgetown University show that resveratrol helps reduce inflammation in the brain and maintains the integrity of the blood-brain barrier, which weakens with age. In particular, resveratrol also helps maintain neurogenesis, the process of forming new nerve cells in older adults, which was once thought to be impossible but has now been proven. American patient story. Mrs. Linda, 68 years old in Texas, had a family history of Alzheimer's. She always feared that she would follow that path. After being advised to eat fresh red grapes every day and reduce industrial cookies, she noticed that her mind was more alert. Especially in the afternoon, she was no longer slow and tired like before. When she returned for a checkup, her blood inflammation index (CRP) test had decreased significantly, a good sign for brain health. Connection and message. These 3 fruits, blueberries, pomegranates, and red grapes, are not only safe, but are also truly natural medicine for the brain. The important thing is, eat the right kind and eat regularly, instead of chasing after fruits that seem nutritious, but contain risks to the brain that I warned about in previous sections. If you want to protect your memory, stay sharp to enjoy old age, remember a handful of blueberries every day, a glass of pure pomegranate juice, a bunch of red or dark purple grapes. That could be the ticket to help your brain stay young for decades.